afternoon, Shalini, and thank you so much for hopping on to I'm Possible and Smart. And today, like the name of our series goes, you are our hero of inclusion. So, for everybody who's listening to us, Shalini, why don't you tell us a little about yourself in your own words?
So I am the founder director of National Association for the Blind India's Center for Blind Women. The unit is called Center for Blind Women, and we started in 2002. And before that, in year 2000, I had helped in a research for Asian Blind Union, where we were understanding the status of blind women in India. So this research was done all over the country, I think, except J&K. And I had traveled to many parts of the country to do the interviews myself, to meet up people. And in some regions, some other researchers helped me because there were language issues. But that was a big window to let us see the status really of blind women in this country, and it was pathetic. It was totally pathetic for most blind girls in the country because there were very few residential schools in this country where the parents could take them safely and they could study. And after the schooling, there was hardly any higher education available for blind women. Employers were totally resistant to it because employers used to feel that we cannot take care of normal women here safely. How am I going to deal with blind women? What I could see that, I always bring it into a summary that I saw blind women being married as a trousseau with a sighted sister to the same man because the parents didn't know what to do with her. So they would request the son-in-law to just take the other girl also along. That there was no dignity at all. There was no life at all. Even I feel it's like a right of life also is denied. She would just sit in four walls of her home to spend her time because she could not go out without anybody's help. Nobody's teaching her how to move out. And nobody was really caring what are her other needs except food and shelter. So what we saw was terrible. And I think this was the next step. National Association for the Blind India was hearing that research and they asked me if I could open a center for them in HATKAR's enclave in New Delhi, where a place was donated for purpose of training of blind women. So that's how we opened in 2002, and the vision was to change the face of blind women, to bring some life to this life and totally make people aware and make her aware what she was worth. So started the trainings for educated and uneducated blind women in this country. And I must say I've seen life and times changing for them.
Of course you have, yeah.
70% of them now getting into work from the center. We take a batch of 35 for 3 months, 4 months. So we take about 3 batches in a year. So around 100 women we train in a year, and we place about 50 to 60 of them in a year. And also slowly we wanted trainings which would bring them into real mainstream, not just hidden in a factory or just 2 of them in a workplace. I understand some people would sympathize and take 2 women, but now with the cafe that we have, Line Bake, I love it how people have accepted it now, and they are, the tables are turned. The blind women are serving them and not just receiving. And with Discovering Hands, where they work in hospitals to find out the first stage of breast cancer in a woman. She is empowered to save lives. I love it.
22 years back, Shalini, and I can imagine how the space must have been, right? You must have been younger by, those many years and a lot more energetic. So I can actually visualize you. But tell me one thing, Shalini, and these things are, I know they are literally digging into the wounds, but what got you started in this direction, and why blind women? The world of disabilities has so many kinds of causes. So why this?
In one word, if I have to answer it, it was a calling. It was my karma calling. Because I couldn't understand myself. Why me? I was in market research at that time, and I was a freelancer already in qualitative market research. So somewhere my earning money was a little secured, but I knew it that I have to do something which has a purpose. I mean, my life has to have a purpose. I can't be just fitting into a corporate and being one of the whole crowd. I have to be somewhere where I'm needed. Yeah, that's the line I used to feel most probably. And when I started freelancing, I was still looking for some more work, and my friend brought me to voluntary work in a blind school in Arkipuram. That was also NAB. That's how my journey started. When I had never been introduced to disability in my childhood. I think like most of us.
Right.
And I was very skeptical when she was taking me to the blind school. But what I saw there when I went there, I saw smiling faces. I saw empowered children. I saw them making choices, whether they want to volunteer right now or not. I remember the first girl that was given to me and that was told to me that you will read to her. And when I called out for her, she came downstairs and she said, "Can you come another day? I am busy. I have an exam and I'm studying for it. And I would prefer," and she was speaking this immaculate English, "that I would prefer giving time to my own reading rather than you reading for me. So is it okay if you come another day?" And if you ask me, that really took me by surprise. I loved the right to make a choice. I liked that confidence. And as I kept going there, I felt they really needed people who were thinking, feeling, caring, but intelligent individuals who could help them take their life forward rather than just sympathize with them and give them food. I got stuck. I was stuck there for 6 months. Every day I would go and I would help them in English communications. And a lot of children really wanted to get that training because most of the blind children had come from very, very poor past and very poor backgrounds. They had lacked communication skills, and they knew that, that is the future for most of them. So I started teaching them English and theater, I remember, and a lot of children used to come in their free time. So when there was a light hint at where they needed help and they required help in the hostel reformations, and I think, and I had done my master's in human resource management. So I didn't want to go to the corporate, as I said. So I felt this is the best way to practice my human resource management. The students were not very well connected with the maids in the hostel because the maids were uneducated and very few. And the students were going to very good schools outside, in an integrated setup. This NAB Arkipuram was doing amazing work in sending them to, mainstream schools like Sardar Patel, like St. Mary's, like Tagore International. So imagine going there, getting that kind of exposure, and then coming back to totally uneducated maids and, speaking uncouth language and not being respected enough. So there was this dichotomy, and I felt that that's where my HR management would be required, and I took that work up, and I loved that time of my life. Those 4 years, I think I lived and I learned so much about myself. I rediscovered myself when I was teaching them.
I can imagine.
And and that's how, when this research came my way in the year 2000, and then they asked me to open this place, I think I was happy. At the same time, I was not sure what are we going to do, because opening a new center at 29 years of age for a disability that very limited about was not easy. But as I started and as I kind of collected a board here and started some work, I was long time back, and It was a slow journey. It was more my journey than anyone for anyone. And it's amazing how you continue to grow more honest by the day when you
Right.
are doing work which is required in life, but which is not required in the money making units. You have no other zone to go to for any guidance, and you have only your within to turn to,
Right.
and you really grow faith in life because only life is there to support you.
I think in our country, if you ask me honestly, blind people have been, I think, far more or far largely represented than any other section of the society. You know, when I'm saying section of the society, I meant the disability, people with disabilities section of the society. Now, over the years, I've seen how they were sort of represented in movies as walking the street with a cane stick to even in terms of ads for people with disability, it was always a blind person. So there was some form of representation. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, you see a representation of blind in the media and around you when it comes to some publicity. Absolutely right. Because blindness is a seen disability.
Right.
When you see someone blind, you understand, oh, this person cannot see. It's a romanticized version of our understanding of disability. There, and that's it, full stop. Yes, their education is easier than, say, hearing impaired because they can hear and they can follow you. They can also sit in a class with everybody and just listen to what the teacher is saying.
Right.
But as they grow up and when it comes to working, it becomes very difficult. So you might see a lot of hearing impaired people these days in cafes, in many workplaces, but you don't see many blind people working. Try to recall. You don't see them working. And that's where the difficult part of life comes. Yes, it is easier to send them to school and kind of pass exams and get some certificates. But when it comes to working, trainings for them is not existent much because it's not easy to train them. For example, you have a classroom and now you want to train some disabled people and you think that, fine, I would like to train 30 blind people in this work. In what work, first of all? What work?
Right.
Can you
Right.
what kind of work? When I joined this field, the only vocational trainings that they were doing were chalk making and chair caning.
Oh God. Okay.
Because as I said, imagine and tell me what work. I mean, in your office, how many blind people can you see?
None actually.
That person can at least go to a restaurant and serve you food. They can see you, But with a blind person, the employer does not want to trust that much. The employers don't want to trust blind people for anything because of a sheer lack of mobility. Totally. You feel they can't move from here to there on their own.
Right.
And then how they going to travel to the workplace? How are they going to take care of their safety? So till their education is concerned in the school, it's a doable part.
Then begins the difficult part of the journey.
So a lot of blind people try to, pass the UPSC exams or stand for the competitions because at least they will get a secure livelihood. And since they are good at education, there are ways of education. Now with computers really predominant, it's easier to educate themselves. So they try to kind of go into academics. They try to go into government services through competition exams. But they don't try so much for private jobs because private jobs are not there for them. Right. Nobody is ready.
Has there been any transition in the recent past, Shalini, from compared to how it was earlier? Has there been any extension of acceptance?
Yes. Not just with our center. I'm sure there are more organizations that I keep hearing of who are doing good work in different zones of the country. Yes, absolutely. And with computers, we are able to place them at certain places. They're able to work with IT, technology. some bit, but that number is very, very small
Hmm.
because not everybody is educated to understand IT. In the IT field, communications are required. Mostly it works in English, and their education is very, very humble. It's not a very good education in all parts of this country. Where will you get, who's going to pay the teachers highly to teach them very good academics or English medium? There is
Right.
a huge lack of fund there.
Hmm.
So, in very good kind of service background, I don't see a lot of blind people. But yes, we are able to now place them, say, in factories in packaging because we're training them there. We are
Hmm.
able to bring some new trainings, so we are able to, place them there. But I would not really think that you will be in a metro station. How many blind people have you seen? One?
Maybe one in 100. Yeah, absolutely. Hmm.
What
Hmm.
prominence is that? Yes, I know
Exactly.
they have made tactile parks in the metro stations, so
Hmm.
everybody is aware now. Okay, this is
Hmm.
for blind people. Not
Hmm.
everybody, some people. I mean, I have stories and stories where in metro stations I have seen the whole CRPF, set up on that path. And when you
Hmm.
go to tell them that this path is not to be disturbed, it's for a blind person, they just get up and say, "Where is the blind person? Where is he? Where is
Hmm.
he coming? Are you going to really
Hmm.
remove your setup if the blind person is walking there?" The awareness
Oh,
is so low because people have not seen them. The visibility is very low.
very low.
And that's
Right.
because the infrastructure in our country is not very safe. So they
Absolutely.
don't come out that fast. And if they get the government jobs, if they get the bank jobs, yes, they are working there. In many government banks, you will be able to see at least two in each branch or one in each branch. That's because of their own brightness, I would say, that they have gone ahead and cleared bank exams and they are working now, at least because the reservation has been there.
Hmm.
So you see them there. But in the private world, in the corporate world, very,
Hmm.
very, very few. I'm sure even the hearing impaired are not many. But there
Hmm.
could be some wheelchair borne people, there could be some on the crutches. So the orthopedic disability is the lowest hanging fruit the corporate can look at.
Right. Hmm.
It is not easy for us to get through closed doors for getting them jobs, even in call centers these days. For
Hmm.
orthopedically disabled, you just have to make a lift and the person will be able to reach the workplace and be able to do much. I'm sure that disability is also very difficult for those people, but relatively easier than
Hmm.
visually. The employer does not have to make many changes in the workplace. For a visually impaired person, your
Hmm.
whole network has to become blind friendly, and that they're
Absolutely.
not.
Your communication has to get accessible, your reading
They
material,
are not
everything else.
open. Yeah, the digital accessibility is easier said than done.
Hmm.
I mean, even a lot of banks are still struggling to bring it to the parity level, but in the private world, people are not ready to spend that kind of money.
The amazing part, Shalini, if I have to intercept you here, I was just having this discussion on the podcast series with Bonnie Dave and Akshita Sachdev from Trestle Labs, right? The other day, about a day and a half back. And they were talking about this communication barrier for people with visual impairment. And it felt like a missing puzzle in the system being finally found. What is your take? Have you heard about Kibo? Have you heard about what they're doing in the space? What's your take on that?
See, what happens is most of their softwares, most of their softwares are kind of governed by other countries.
Hmm.
Irony is even if they are made in India, the softwares, but
Hmm.
they're governed by the foreign agents.
Okay.
And they don't get permissions to open the softwares and make them blind friendly.
Ah. Hmm.
The major issue. Most of them. They really want to. I can see the initiative. But when it
Hmm.
comes to efforts, when it comes to really doing it, there's a big vacuum. They don't
Hmm.
want to open those softwares and just, meddle with it. And they kind of take a step back. I'm talking about even those employers who have taken a lot of disabilities and they have received awards, but they don't want any visually impaired to work with them because
Hmm.
they find it difficult to open the softwares and make them accessible.
What
Yes.
according to
In
you,
fact,
Shalini, now there has to be इसका कुछ तो तोड़ होना चाहिए,
मेजर
and I
प्रॉब्लम यही है कि उनका
हाँ
सॉफ्टवेयर्स को
हम्म
खोलने का उनके पास परमिशंस नहीं है। अगर लॉ ऐसा बन जाए कि
हम्म
आपको अपने ऑफिस के हर सॉफ्टवेयर को डिजिटली एक्सेसिबल बनाना है, तब तो बात और है। क्योंकि जब वो
हाँ
बने, those
got it
engineers who softwares, they have to be made aware that there has
hmm
to be accessibility built into it. When
got
they
it
are making software, they just have to go an extra mile to do that. It's not that difficult. But once it comes into play, the whole office is working on it, there are branches and branches working on it, then it becomes difficult for them to open it, and security issues are there these days with the data, of
absolutely
course. So they
absolutely
don't want to open it. But when it comes to manual employment, people are listening. I must say
hmm
that.
hmm
Because like, how am I able to place them in factories?
hmm
They're open. They're okay, fine. If you can teach them this kind of work, this limited work, I'm fine to give at least 2 to 4 people in my space out of 700 or 800 people. And factories lap them up
got
much
it
faster,
hmm hmm
but not the corporates.
yeah, you have been, Shalini, working in this space for quite a few years, right? You literally sit and stand with the visually impaired on a daily basis. If one has to ask you, what are the skill sets they possess?
So it is both ways, because there are no openings. The blind people don't even know what kind of skills to go for.
Hmm.
There's no dearth of initiative to learn or willingness to learn there. If they have been able to learn to find out the smallest lump in your breast, to find out a breast cancer, that's, believe me, it's not easy to study that, okay? It's not easy to study cancer. They've been able to do that. I'm sure if you challenge their knowledge, they will accept to learn more. But they don't know what to learn. Which skills would be good to learn to go to these jobs in the corporates where they can also earn hefty money.
Right.
One has to, they have to let us come and do the job mapping. They don't open their doors to let us understand what kind of jobs will be possible with the blind. There has to be enough research done on it. So everything is not just English communication based.
Exactly. I was just going to ask you that is there some exercise, like a conscious exercise that is done with corporates where the not just skill development but creation of jobs for visually impaired is taken up as a
There are efforts. I don't want to say they're enough. The efforts are not enough. We have also been trying to make some efforts. In fact, now I'm the chairperson for the Skill Council for PWTs.
Yes, absolutely.
And from there also they try doing those efforts. But I don't think these are enough efforts. There's money involved. When you go every day to do job mapping, you're giving man hours, you're traveling, you require some money on it. Who's going to pay that? Who's going to pay that?
Right.
NGOs can't afford to pay that kind of money on their own. And the corporate is not interested. It's too busy, far too busy to do this. I understand the whole DEI is now a theme to follow. It's just a theme to follow. And okay, thankfully people are at least bending towards low-hanging fruits, fine. The disabilities which are easier. At least there's some start. But I don't see initiative to break the roof. I don't break the ceiling. I don't see initiatives to really come out of the box and make a difference to the society from the corporate side.
Got it. So you're saying the only way would be a top-down approach where a law is passed and it's made mandatory that you have to make job creations accessible for the visually impaired as well, right? Not just give an option to the corporate that you choose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll never have the numbers rising, and if the job creation doesn't, then how will you upskill?
Their head offices are abroad, and you can't really reach out to the right decision makers most of the time. Because this has to be a top-down decision. It's the top management who has to think differently.
Absolutely.
In the organizations where that has happened, the change has come.
Tell me one thing, Shalini. You have a lot of multinationals operating in our country today, right? And I know that globally, everybody talks inclusion at a far more serious note than it is talked about and practiced here in India. If these multinationals are able to practice inclusion in workplaces, be it with recruitment of people with different kinds of disabilities in their own countries, what keeps them from following the practices here?
I wonder if they do that in their own countries. The governments definitely follow a law and they make the infrastructure accessible. Definitely. That difference is there, and that is why you can see many disabled people on the road. They're visible.
Right.
In our country, that infrastructure has not come yet. Of course, the government keeps lamenting about the lack of money for the lot of infrastructure. Some changes have come. Some huge changes are still to come. Like the ramps are being made, but they are made in such a bad way that
talk
even
about that.
helping somebody in the wheelchair, you can't really help them through that ramp. Yes, the lifts, you can see there are braille marks in the lifts, and there are voice commands in the lifts most of the time. But do you see at large outside your office, are there any braille notifications? Do you see
No,
any?
not in the public spaces. No, yeah.
Absolutely. So though we have ratified the UN law that yes, all the public places have to be fully accessible. And when you say public places, what does it mean? It doesn't mean only the hotel.
Right.
It doesn't mean
bus stops, train stops, every place. Yeah.
And I feel there is a lack of awareness in the people who are making it. For example, a contractor is hired to make the roads. Is he aware that how a ramp has to be done for the bus stop, how barriers should not be there? He's not aware at all. So the laws have to be much more stringent for them not to get their licenses before they have even received that awareness.
Absolutely. I think the implementation is where we suffer, honestly, Shalini. We have the RPWD Act, but just apart from the act in place, I don't think too much is being put in place in a conscious manner.
Don't know the real meaning of those clauses.
Yeah.
Who has read all that act? I mean, it's sad. Yesterday, I was by chance in Konark Temple in Konark. And when I saw those ramps, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, I kept clicking pictures that somebody has used so much of mind to make these ramps that they are in no way, they have aesthetically been built into the staircase. How? That means this is possible. Somebody has put their mind into it. So that means it can be done everywhere. There is one, lack of awareness, two, lack of initiative.
Yeah.
You don't require too much of funding when you are making stairs to make some additional ramp around it. But yes, you have to break the floorings and you have to put the tactile marks. It requires extra funding. And that is the easier part, to do the changes in the hardware, to do the changes in the infrastructure around. But to do continuous changes in the digital infrastructure that you have, it requires a continuous effort, because your digital networking and the digital infrastructure keeps updating every year.
And it's very difficult to keep pace with that. Yeah.
And you will have to make those engineers aware, first of all, who are making those softwares.
Got it.
So I feel the whole knowledge and education to make accessible infrastructure has to be brought into universities.
Absolutely.
It has to be brought to the education level. The children who are growing up in the country, they have to understand that everything has to be accessible. The colleges have to understand. And then we can see a bright day up there.
Absolutely.
There is an information about law. There is an information about DEI. But the actual DEI, we're very, very far from it.
Right.
Very far.
While we are on this topic, Shalini, what is your current focus? If I have to ask you, the sea of problems that already exist in the environment, right? And it's very difficult to focus on everything at the same time, especially from the point of vantage that you work at right now or work with right now. But what is your current focus? If I have to ask you, how are you trying to circumvent through these or navigate through these challenges?
My current focus, and maybe focus for at least next 10 years, is to definitely enhance the skill set of the visually impaired people so that they fit in the market beautifully and the market has a demand for them. Not just, on a compromise way that, yeah, please, fill in these 2 seats with 2 blind people. They want to create a demand in the market where they have a USP and they don't have to. It's a sad part. People who are disabled have to fit in with the mainstream. It's such a sad part. They're the ones who are disadvantaged, and you are asking them to come and fit into your mainstream world. Isn't it the duty of the mainstream to come and understand their needs and, fit their whole infrastructure with that?
Absolutely.
That ask we keep talking about. But I feel the more the skill levels are, the more demand there will be. Like the USP of the breast cancer detectors is amazing, that only blind people can do this. Only blind women can find out that 0.5 centimeter lump in a woman's breast and can save her in time.
Right.
Because by the time she looks for her symptoms, by the time she's aware of her own symptoms and comes to the doctor, it's third stage of the cancer and the life is at risk. And or like in Japan, the pain relief mechanism totally is earmarked for the visually impaired. The visually impaired are taught to use their tactile sense and find the nerves which are blocked in the body, to open them and then to kind of bring energies back into a person. It's not really received very well into India. We have those skilled people, but there's still a long way to go to that awareness level to receive services from a person with disabilities. It is very nice and easy to look down upon a person and to feel good about yourself. Every time people look at blind people or come into the school to take a round, the first reaction is always, oh, I'm thanking my God that I have received the eyesight. So you are trying to say that the other person has not been blessed enough.
Yeah.
And I don't like that bit. There is I believe there's a purpose to everything. There's a reason to everything. I have seen the blind people we train here amazingly bright. They are so wonderful. I mean, we have a cafe which is run by the blind people, and it's hardly any time that they burn the food because their sense of timing is amazing. Their sense of, memory is amazing on that food. We're not using those senses at all. We are not using the skills of the disabled people where they can be very. We are not really looking at what is this blindness good for. We have made it a handicap for them that we have this visual friendly world and you have to try to figure out how you're going to move around it. So fine, I feel the blind people or the disabled people have taken that challenge very well and they are really working hard on it. We want to bring as many skills into the country as possible and break through the IT field in a larger way. IT is the future and IT also brings solutions.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Technology has to be the key, and I keep telling this and I can't harp on this enough, Shalini, and not just for the visually impaired, but I think technology can, create avenues for people with disabilities, without disabilities, and somewhere fuse the worlds, somewhere I think get everybody all together in the mainstream, if only if obviously, like you rightly pointed out, if the technology itself is inclusive, right? And I think the makers of technology need to keep that, in mind, that while they are creating new softwares, while they are creating new hardwares also, just keep
people. If the government brings laws into the universities that every work that you teach has to have accessibility into it, the future generation coming out will be much more empowered to make the world really inclusive.
And inclusion has to be made mandatory. I think it shouldn't be a matter of choice. It should not be a matter of absolutely.
Accessibility should be mandatory. Only when a person gets old in your family that you start thinking of lifts and ramps,
Exactly.
Not before that.
Exactly.
And that's
it's perfectly okay if people have to think about it even then, Shalini. But the point is that no single individual life can go disability free, in that life cycle, right? Everybody has to go through it. Everybody
Absolutely.
has to be on a crutch or may lose their vision. I am visually impaired, if you ask me honestly. I can't see clearly without my glasses. So does that mean that, we call it a disability and push me aside, that, Monisha, get out of the
Slowly
mainstream? So
degenerates. You should, yeah,
yeah,
learn your alternative ways of life.
exactly.
Absolutely. I think it's a way of thinking, and India being inclusive in many ways. Okay. We include
Mm.
a lot of people in our system.
Yes,
We
it's a
include a
diverse
lot of,
country.
yes,
And we've accepted diversity
absolutely.
in religion, in caste, and in so many ways that why not this,
Country,
Itna,
so
hmm.
many kind of landscapes and with so many kind of weathers and weather conditions and with so many
Right.
kinds of people and races and castes. If we can't do it, then nobody can.
I swear. It's a
You
lovely
know,
playground to actually do all your trials and errors. I keep telling people that you'll never find such an amazingly rich population anywhere else, right? And I think we're getting there. It's just that there need to be more voices sensitizing the remaining of us. Shalini, always wanted to ask, people who work with the visually impaired this question. What's been the reaction to the new movie that has got released, the movie called Shrikant? What's your take on that?
we are taking our girls tomorrow,
Okay,
and
that's nice.
I don't know, but I have heard very good reviews about it, and I
Hmm.
have seen a trailer, and I really liked it. Otherwise, I kind of hesitate to go for these films which are made with visually impaired people in it because I know I will keep finding flaws. That you've just made it too idealistic and too romantic, and you're not really looking at the real picture. But
Hmm.
I like the questions that the film is raising
Right,
in there, and I think Rajkumar has done a very good job.
right.
Um,
And they
Getting
have
frustrated.
mainstreamed. Yeah, they have mainstreamed the subject. So I think that's the most beautiful part about the
I
whole
remember
movie, right?
seeing the trailer where he's fighting that he has to travel. He's got
Hmm.
another university where, and he's not allowed to travel alone. That's so sad. And it
Absolutely.
happens all the time. And I hope everybody watches the film and I hope everybody listens to what he's saying.
Absolutely, inshallah. In fact, that's the I think the latest buzzword that if you can mainstream disability in media, right, and nothing sells more than far better than the movies or ads and commercials. I think that's one space through which messaging systems can be made so much more loud and clear, right? I think it's a good start, and I hope more movie makers actually come forward and they start
They are
mainstreaming
coming. And
disability
they
to.
find blindness very fantastic to make a film with because it looks, as I said, very romantic. But to find
Hmm.
real biographies, real stories, and make
Yeah.
biographies is really worth it.
So, Shali, before I wrap this up, and it's been an amazing discussion, a lot of insight, a lot of sentiments and everything being shared there. But before I go, if I have to ask you to leave us with the kind of support that someone like you who's working in this space needs, what will be the asks that you have from the society around you, from people
I
who are
need
listening?
support. I need all support to skill the people with visual impairment, remembering that you can't skill them in great numbers.
Hmm.
Most CSR is looking at numbers, but
Hmm.
visually impaired can't be skilled in numbers. It is a very one-on-one training, and there'll always be few numbers going out. But the impact that you're going to create on the society is going to be humongous. So we require a lot of funds to skill them better, and not just in Delhi, skill them in many different parts of this country. The more funds I get to reach out to more, to smaller, to tier two cities in India, I would love to do that. Why do they have to come all the way to Delhi to or Mumbai to get skilled and placed? The more we skill them in different cities, the more we can show employers in those cities what are they worth.
Absolutely, and I don't think there's any other way to go about this problem, unless and until I think we create sustainable livelihoods for people with any kind of disability. I don't think we can ever find a concrete solution. Right? We have to get them independent. We have to get them upskilled, and we
Yes.
have to stop treating, I think, every person with any kind of disability as a burden on the society.
Now, people with disabilities are making all the efforts. They are like really taking challenges up.
And
My time.
they have been, Shani, they have been doing this for years, accommodating, compromising, cutting corners, killing their, ambitions. And I think this is no way that a life, in any human life, should be treated, especially when we are in a democratic country and our constitution gives us equal rights to, every
We are in
single
a
aspect of
country
living.
where awareness of keeping pets and taking care of them is increasing by the day. But
Yeah, imagine
how
that.
much compassion for human beings? And
Mm.
I am looking forward to a day where, when there is a blind child born in your family, you don't cry, you don't feel bad. You
Yeah,
know where all that blind child can reach.
absolutely.
That is a future I really want to see. I hope it comes someday. The day would
It
dawn.
will. It will. I think that's where, our voices matter, Shani, like I said. And I don't think, we should let go of a single day in our lives where we don't talk about things that matter at the end of it. Wherever you get a forum, whether it is between 10 people on social media, thanks to social media, voices travel.
Absolutely.
Voices travel. And I think that is the best thing that I keep telling people, this is the biggest, largest tool that we have in our world today. So let us
I don't
take
even know
full
where you're
advantage.
sitting, and I am able to have this conversation with you.
Exactly.
Thanks. Thank
Actually,
you.
train the voices, train the voices. I think if these people become self advocates, Shalini, our work would be, I think, taken care of, at the end of the day. That's what I believe in as a
Our
parent
work
of a
is to
child. Hmm.
tell the people around that, we are beautiful. We are as
Yeah,
beautiful, and we can make your life better.
actually,
That is what is required.
actually.
We'll make that voice reach them. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
All the
Shalini,
best.
and thank you for all the time. Had a good time.